Hello, you are listening to Jump and Shoot, a gaming podcast. As always, I am your host, Joey, and today we are doing something a little different, or maybe not so different because I've kind of been doing this off and on, but I'm going to be tier listing, or ranking, rather, the Fire Emblem games. So, just a forewarning here, I have like a very makeshift setup right now for this. I just kind of wanted to do a stream and talk about stuff with my buds. So some of the stream elements here might be a little out of whack. I'll probably have to do a lot of clicking. So hopefully that doesn't get picked up too much and that's not too distracting. I'm going to try to have some gameplay footage of all these games that I've aggregated. Just so there's some visual component to this too. So if you're listening to this on a podcast or through Spotify or SoundCloud, just know that there is a visual component, but it's pretty negligible. It's basically like having a screensaver, if you will. All right, so let me give a little bit of a preamble too about this. I don't want anyone to get heated about my opinions here because they are just opinions and they are shared only by me. So if you disagree, that's just on you, man. I can't believe I have to say this, but you never know. You never know. So also, I'm trying to like weigh this. Like, I have like this weird thing with these games, and or this ranking, and I'm trying to make like an objective versus subjective tier list. So, or a mix of the two, I should say. Rather, how do I want to describe it? Most of this is just like straight up like what I feel is the best game, and some of it is like what I have the most fun with. So there's like it's like in the middle. And I want to, you know what, I'll just put this in here too. Rather than doing like S tier or amazing, I'll try to get like general ratings of these games. And so like the top here, this is going to be 8 to 10. I don't think I'd give any game a 10, but just in the context of Fire Emblem, let's do that. And okay, so this sounds right. This is 4, and then this will be 0 through 4. Okay. So basically, these ones at the top here, these are going to be the best games. There'll probably only be like a couple in this. These are going to be really, really good games, like amazing games. These are just kind of pretty good, very good, somewhere between there, like above average enough to stand on its own and be unique and be great. And then these are like slightly above average, maybe something I would describe as good, just plain old good. And this is just straight mid. So nothing really too positive, nothing negative, just straight fucking hardcore mid. And I want to use this opportunity to stand on a soapbox and talk about the word mid for a second. Let's talk about that word. People start using this word interchangeably with bad, and it doesn't mean bad. It means middle, literally. It fucking means middle. So that's what it means. If I say something is mid, I'm not saying it necessarily is a complete negative. You know, it just means it's just average. It's an average old game. And 4 is when it's like maybe maybe it's playable and it's fun in some ways, but it's just way below average. And then 0 through 4 is pretty much I hate this. And I'm gonna give a little spoiler. I don't think any games on here I hate. Right? So let's get this started, man. Let's do it. I'm gonna just sort of pick a random game and then we'll go from there. So I'm gonna pick. It's sort of hard for me to see. Oh, I should also mention, I have played every single game on this. You know what? Just because I don't think there's any games here, this is just going to be haven't played. There's only one game I have not played on here, and it is Mystery of the Emblem, the remake. The actual name of the game is Mystery of the Emblem, the remake. But the DS version of Mystery of the Emblem. So when this first came out, when this game first came out, I tried playing it in Japanese, and that didn't work because I have no patience for that kind of thing. So I got maybe 3-4 missions in, and I gave up. Yeah, I hear it's really solid. I hear it's solid. I like the Super Nintendo version or the Super Famicom version, but I have not gone through this. I heard that there's a fan translation up now. And I had to say, it's funny that I didn't play this game because of the translation, because you'll see that this has not stopped me in the past. I don't know, just something about the time that this came out, I just wasn't feeling it, and I wasn't feeling like making the effort. But again, not a bad game from what I played. So let's just get that out of the way. So the other ones I have played, there's spin-offs on here like Warriors and Heroes. Don't count. They're Filoni. No, I'm kidding. I'll see what I want to do with those, but I don't think I'm going to get to them. So, and it's also hard to gauge against the rest of this. So let's start with Fire Emblem 6, aka the Blazing Blade. You know what I'll do? I'll start with Roy and Marth. That's what I'll do. So Blazing Blade. Where does this go? Where does it go? You may ask. C. This is a C tier game. This is like a 5 to 6, I think. Yeah, I would say that. Oh, or no, Binding Blade, I'm sorry. Blazing Blade, Rekka no Ken is 7. Yeah, my bad. My bad. Let me bring up some footage of this sucker. Sorry, I'm like looking at too many windows at once, and I'm not used to multitasking like this. Do that. There we go. So, Fire Emblem 6, I don't really have that much to say about it because it's been a really long time since I've played it. I'm not a huge fan of this game, really. I think it's by far the weakest of the GBA games. A big problem that I have with it is the fact that Roy sucks real bad. And I don't mean like as a unit. I think he gets overblown with how much he sucks as a unit, but he is one of the weaker lords for sure. He gets really good when he gets the sword, but he can get screwed out of strength, and Lord have mercy if you disrespect his queen. But that being said, there's a lot of quality of life here that is sorely lacking. And having to go through a million menus to see stats that aren't like at the ready, like even Fire Emblem 4 and 5 did this, is kind of unforgivable. I don't hate this game. A lot of the maps are sort of frustrating. It feels like an NES game more so than a Super Nintendo game, right? And I think a lot of that is due to the quality of life. This is was this? No, this is not the first Weapon Triangle game. What am I thinking, man? But yeah, I haven't played this game since maybe a year or two after FE7. So it's just, the story is fine. Funny enough, I think Fire Emblem 7 did a better job with the story, but that's a hot take, I think. No pun intended. The story is fine. The bad guy is actually great in this. Oh, fuck, what's his name? The blonde dude. Starts with a Z. This is how good my memory is of this game. Oh, also, when I played this, a lot of the names were not in English, because the fan translation was kind of wonky. Zephiel, that's his name. Thank you, Comrio, for having my back. Yeah, he's good, and he's also in FE7. I think it's sad we never got this in the US, but I kind of see why, because FE7 was just a much more refined view on it. I don't want to get hamstrung on sticking with too many details. I want to make this fairly quick. So in the interest of of celerity here, we're gonna do. Well, we're gonna go next to. What's next? What should I do next? FE7. That's good. I like that. FE7, really good. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. I think I've done it. Yeah, just wait for the FE6 remake. Yeah, I think there's so many Fire Emblem games that need to get a remake, but holy shit, that is a subject that I have to tackle later because that is a very nuanced, a very nuanced subject. Okay, so let's talk about Fire Emblem 7. This one is actually called the Blazing Sword or the Blazing Blade, Rekino Ken in Japanese. I do not know Japanese. Don't quote me there. Did this not come up? What's going on here? Hold on. Sorry. Did this straight up just not? There we go. Sorry. I should have troubleshot this before. Oh, yeah. Yes, you came just in time. So okay, I have an anecdote about this game. This when I first I need to talk about a little bit of my history with Fire Emblem. So I remember seeing this game also in Smash like everybody else. I saw Roy and I was like, who the fuck is this? I have a very generic story for this. And then I remember Nintendo Power was showing screenshots of this game. I don't think I had a computer then. Or maybe I did. I don't remember. No, I did. I definitely had a computer with Melee. I think toward the end though. But so I didn't really hit the sweet internet gossip with Melee. That being said, as much as, later Smashes. But I saw screenshots of this game and I was like, holy shit, that looks like Shining Force. And I loved Shining Force. Shining Force is like one of my favorite, probably top 3 series for me as a kid. And Awakening Baby. No, I don't know. Fire Emblem has a lot of entry points in the US, I think. I know. Fate's got a lot of people. Three Houses got a lot of people, etc. But yeah, I was like, holy shit, that looks like Shining Force, but better. And then I remember I tried to emulate Genealogy of the Holy War and I had a shitty computer and it barely could do it. And I was like, why is there Japanese? I didn't understand this. And so that didn't work. And so when this game came out, I was like super, super hyped about it. Did this thing close again? Why is this happening? There it is. Okay. I think it just keeps flickering in and out. That's very weird. Let's try this. But yeah, I was like super hyped for this. I followed all the release info. I got the player's guide. I was super hype. I wrote a review on GameFAQs that you can find. Actually, I think my screen name on there was Dark Flare Star. Because I thought Flare Star was cool, man. But I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's a very shitty review. I think I was 14, maybe 15 when I wrote it. I don't know. It's probably worth picking up for the lulz. Yeah, so that game came out and I fucking loved it. I played the shit out of it. I did every single thing in this game. I should also mention a lot of my views on these games, like I've played every Fire Emblem on the hardest difficulty. I do the try hard shit with not letting anyone die, all that kind of stuff. Give me 1 second. Let me try to actually fix this. Hold on, because this is getting annoying. I don't know why the window's closed. It's open on my screen. That's not the right window. That is my history of the videos that I have pulled up. Oh my god, this is annoying. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. I don't know if this is going to crash it or not. Whatever. I don't care. Let's make me big for this. Then now why is this not showing? There we go. Okay. This is awful. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you for sticking with me during this trying time. I'm struggling so hard. I can't see on my other monitor because I'm a blind idiot. So like I'm like really like the window is open. I'm watching it play this footage. It's just not working and just flickering in and out. But anyway, of course that would happen. That's just the way it goes when you hit the live button. For me. So, okay, yeah, so let's go back to Fire Emblem 7. This game has so many diverse views because there's so much in this game. You have the extended prologue and Lynn's thing. Then you have Eliwood's tale, which is the canon or whatever tale. And then the Hector's tale, which is like, there's kind of some overlap there. And you can say that a lot of it happens at the same time. But I like to think Eliwood's is the canon one, whatever. It doesn't matter. But there's very different play styles. Hector is a very sort of like unga bunga, just throw myself in the middle of everyone. All his maps are way different, and they have a lot of things to counter his broken stats. There's the infamous Gaiden chapters in this with magic, and oh god, it's awful. What's the dude's name? Where he like seals everything around him, and it's just such a pain in the ass. I forgot the name of the dude, but those chapters are awful. That being said, they add a lot of dynamism to the game. Hector Hard Mode is like one of the most satisfying Fire Emblem experiences, I think. So all those things make it really, really good, right? Lynn's prologue kind of sucks. But it's a good introduction, and it lets you kind of pad your stats, actually. So that's kind of cool. So if you know you want to favor Sane or Kent, you can get some really good levels in early, as well as Lynn. So that rules. There's a lot of interesting mechanics to the maps. There's a lot of diversity with map stuff in this game, more so than a lot of other Fire Emblems. I will say, and I didn't say this about 6, the GBA games, especially the first two, feel like NES Fire Emblem plus Advance Wars. And the reason for this is because there's really not skills in these games in the same way that there were in 4 or 5 and then that you would see in 9. A lot of it's very just based on strategy and unit placement, which is very Advanced Wars. You got upset because there were lances everywhere. I love lances. Lances are my favorite weapon type in Fire Emblem. But I think the weapon triangle is used really well in this game. Unfortunately, like 6, it makes a lot of axe users kind of shitty. But that's okay, because Hector exists. You can get screwed out of Eliwood's strength. If you get RNG screwed with Eliwood's strength, this game is going to be real painful for you. And the only thing about this game that I think there's not like a lot of quality of life, more so than 6 for sure. It's very straightforward, but stuff like some of the maps in the midsection of the game, like around chapter 18, get real bloated and take forever. Absolutely forever. So, one other thing, again, I'm trying to keep this short. I actually like the story of this game. I always shit on it. If you know me and you catch me in my critical moments, I always shit on RPG stories because I don't think there are very, very many good RPG story, like video game JRPG stories specifically. I don't think that there are many of them. I think a lot of people who praise game stories and look to games for stories sometimes don't consider video games in the context of other media. That being said, this game is like satisfying for what it is, and people shit on this all the time, and I don't really understand why, because it's not that much better or worse than any other Fire Emblem before this. I think the story in this game is more affecting than the other ones. Like, Lynn is a cool character. Hector is just like an action movie character who doesn't really have any personality, but it's fine because he's badass. And then Eliwood is a generic prince guy, but this whole story with Ninian and Nergal and all the dragons in Arcadia is really cool, man. This is one of the best uses of is it Maniquete or Maniquite? I say Maniquete. I don't know if that's true. No, it's definitely not the best. I will tell you what the best is shortly, but until I get to that point. What else do I want to say? Yeah, the story is not bad. This game offers a lot of diversity. I will say that this is probably one of the best games to start with. In fact, it may be... I don't know if it's my recommendation. Keat? Oh, it's Keat, Maniquite. That makes sense. I love how you're always here to help me with words that I should know how to pronounce. Because I do literally zero research. And I'm roasting myself. That's just how it goes, man. Okay. So let's see if maybe this is feeling less temperamental now. Let me try to bring up the footage again. Maybe this will work. No. This is still not working. I think what happened was it detected I should have just done it as window capture and then cropped it. Or display capture and then cropped it. But here I am fucking up. I'm sorry. So you guys are going to have this boring ass... I'm tempting fates. I'm tempting fate birthright. The birthright of curse. Nope. Nope. I'll take a screenshot of this after with my phone. So you can see that I'm not just a dumbass. Although I may be a dumbass. I'm sure there's some user error there. I'm positive, but it's less than 20%. Anyway, speaking of less than 20%, let's talk about a game that sucks. We said we were going to talk about Marth. Actually, no Fire Emblem games suck. All right, Fire Emblem 1. I gotta say, man. Fire Emblem 1, not very good. I did it. Okay, so I have a weird history with this game. When I first played it, and this is a hard game to gauge because there's three different versions. There's the NES version. There is Fire Emblem 3, which consists of Book 1, which is a Super Famicom remake of FE1. And then there is Shadow Dragon, the DS remake. I did. I beat it. It's funny because when I... Oh, yeah, it does. The speed up is really nice. I bought the... I think you can probably see the Fire Emblem collection behind me. I bought that, and I was like, I'm not going to play this. Whatever. I've already played it. And I beat like 3 maps, and I'm like, fucking shit. And then it just like sat there on my home screen, just taunting me forever. So I was like, fine, I'll play it. Whatever. I'll just play it while I'm watching something else. And that fallacy led to me playing the entire game. Yeah, that's true. I do like that, though, because I think Fire Emblem is a really, really good portable series. And I think it was I think being on the GBA did wonders for it. And I think a lot of the design choices in 7 and 8 were made around the portability. And 6 as well, obviously. But 6 to me felt like, how do we don't want to make a Super Famicom game, and we don't want to make this on the GameCube, so you'll just put it on the GBA. Oh, it's seeing stuff on the shelf behind me. Yeah. That being said, the text, though, it is sort of small on handheld. Sorry. Anyway, Fire Emblem 1 has not held up super well, and what kind of inspire me to make this tier list is I played through Majin Tensei 1 and 2 and Another Bible. I didn't finish Another Bible. And Majin Tensei 1 and 2 are SRPGs very much ripped from Fire Emblem. They took a lot. Atlas really was unabashed with what they were jacking from Fire Emblem, and maybe Langrisser. I'd have to do the historical look to see if Langrisser came out before Majin Tensei, but I don't think it did. Either way, that's neither here nor there. But playing that made me inspired to talk about Fire Emblem because Majin Tensei doesn't do a lot of what Fire Emblem does really well, and that's actual strategy and setups. It's kind of just spamming units. And Fire Emblem 1 just doesn't really hold up because there's not a lot of depth to the combat. And there's not a lot of goodness there. It was a lot of really cool ideas. The permadeath thing was very sick. Love to see it. I just think the game is very slow, glacial, doesn't offer a lot of anything other than the novelty of being the game that started it all. Yeah, FF Tactics Advance had many sequels and prequels. Langrisser predate. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because a lot of genealogy takes from Langrisser. So, yeah. But Majin Tensei, just I think I would put that below Fire Emblem 1 because it feels a lot. It's prettier, but the gameplay is around the same. And that's why I bring this up. So, okay, let's talk about the different versions. I'm spending too much time talking about FE1. And by the way, I just need to clarify that I'm usually the boomer who's the old shit's the best. Fuck yeah, that's going in 10 out of 10. But, okay. So, next to this, because this is Fire Emblem 3, this one is, wait, hold up. Let me take, no, that's Gaiden. Is this 3? Yeah, here's 3. So this sucks because there's not an individual thing for 3. So I'll leave that until I get to it. But so Shadow Dragon, I'm just putting this here for now. This is not exactly where I place it. Shadow Dragon sucks because it is a very half-assed remake in terms of scope. So, I get why they were trying to do this, but everything about this remake looks budget as shit. Tell me I'm wrong, please. This looks like it was subcontracted to another design team. I think that a lot of visual artists were being shuffled around with Intelligent Systems at the time because the artists definitely changed from Radiant Dawn until present. Thank you, Com. But that being said, I think it's more playable than FE1. The worst thing about it is that it doesn't retain a lot of modern conveniences of Fire Emblem, but it shoves in them. So it shoves in the avatar, some of the generic units that you could sort of build up. So it definitely tried to innovate on it, but it didn't add the weapon triangle. So what the fuck? This game would have probably been up here it would have been better than 6. Despite its horrendous visuals, if it used the weapon triangle. The remixes in this are so forgettable. So forgettable. It's just, there's not a lot of good to it. The icons look, or the avatars and a lot of the art style looks like a mobile Star Ocean game that got made by some a dude in Petaluma, California. I don't know. I can't explain it. It's inexplicable. I think, you know what? I don't actually think I beat this game on the hardest difficulty. I think I beat the game on the hardest difficulty that you're allowed to select. But then I think you unlock something, and I just didn't beat. I've only played through this game 1.5 times, and I'm just not a huge fan. But that being said, it is more playable than FE1. I think I would rather play this, but the music and the visuals, it loses all the charm. It feels soulless. And this is such a sadness because, the US wanted Marth. We wanted Marth's origins, man. We wanted that Switch port of NES Fire Emblem, or Famicom Fire Emblem, back then. back on the GBA. When we were getting remember when we were getting like those the NES games on the GBA, like literally the GBA carts with one fucking NES game, even though like there was the e-reader stuff that did the same thing. That was great. That would have been a perfect opportunity to do this, but I think market saturation back then was a weird topic, so yeah. There's a lot of things that happen here, but either way, they could have made this awesome because Martha's such an iconic character for people, for fans of the series, and even for newcomers or people who've never played a Fire Emblem game, or people on GameFAQs who shit on Smash's roster for having too many Fire Emblem characters, which it's not that there's too many Fire Emblem characters, it's that it's the wrong Fire Emblem characters. But yeah, we complained so much that they didn't give us the next remake, yeah, which would be this game. And my guess, I'm just going to throw a guess, I would guess that this is probably around Blazing Blade or slightly better. Probably slightly better, but whatever. I don't think that Shadow Dragon... I don't know. Because part of me wants to put it above this, and part of me doesn't. But I also don't think it's completely deserving of a lot of the hate it gets. I think a lot of people hive mind, bandwagon the hatred for this game. This is actually kind of making me divisive because I don't think Fire Emblem 1 or even Shadow Dragon is a 5. I think it'd be like a mid 5. So technically I would probably put these two up here. But this whole section is going to be fucking jammed. So just for the sake of convenience, we're going to put Fire Emblem 1 NES above Shadow Dragon just because of the charm, even though the gameplay and that's better. I've decided. So new Mystery of the Emblem. This is not new Mystery of the Emblem, but this is Mystery of the Emblem. Which this is kind of a cheat, man, because this tier list doesn't have the 1 and 3 individually, book 1 and 2 individually. It only has just the package. So we're gonna go off just the package, and that's kind of unfair because this version of FE1 is the best. So this is obviously above these two. IMO. Oh, that's Gaiden? Oh yeah, you're right. Here it is. Wait. Here it is. Wait, no, that's genealogy. Okay, I'm flying blind, man. Give me a break. So from a distance, I saw the blue hair. Like I thought it was blue hair. It's Alm's green hair. There we go. But yes, as a package, two really good games, man. I think this innovates on a lot of things with FE1. It keeps the spirit of the game intact. Just it's kind of like a, why was this remade when it didn't add that much? Because it whatever, but it also gives you 3 and 1 for the price of 1, and I think it was just there so you didn't have a sequel to a random game that not that many people played, or people played it. Wait, where did I put it on the top? I like Gaiden. Not even gonna play. That being said, I think the book 2 has a lot of problems. It's not particularly amazingly well designed. I think this game has sort of like a Kyoyaku Megami Tensei problem where it does, like, there's not that many reasons to play it over the original apart from crisper visuals. But I would say, like, if you're going to compare the two remakes, Digital Devil Story Megami Tensei for Famicom and Kyoyaku Megami Tensei, I would say that this is probably, like, this makes the original more inferior. So, do I put it over 6, though? I don't know. Because 6 does have the weapon triangle and better combat dynamics, but 6 infuriates me. So I am going to put it here. We'll see what happens. I don't really like how this story ends. It gets real generic. There's a lot of really cool things they could have done, but hey, it's a Nintendo game. What were you expecting? Okay. Do I want to ride the train? You know what? You mentioned Gaiden and I fucked up, so let's talk about Gaiden. 10 out of 10, best game I've ever played. Nothing even comes close. Gaiden is good. right? Gaiden is better than, or it's better than mid, right? So Gaiden is like a sandbox game to me because the map design in this doesn't exist. I mean, it does, but it very, very barely does. This is kind of like oh, check this out. You get to explore. The game is more about RPG mechanics than strategy. And I don't think that that's a... I think at one point I wanted to be a hipster and say it was my favorite Fire Emblem. Like I played like the first 2 maps when it on an emulator, and I was like, holy shit, this fucking rules. Why don't people talk about this more? And then after like the 3rd map, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is like the worst game ever. No, it's not the worst. But people shit on this game so much, and I don't understand it. I just like, okay, dude, no. I do remember Roy slapping ass in the last couple missions because I started resetting for good stat growths, and he was slapping ass. That being said, I almost always reset for good stat growths if I play in a harder difficulty. If I get really shitty stats, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna redo this mission. And the Fire Emblem dynamic that we all love is getting amazing growths and then fucking up at the last moment, like right before you kill the boss or the boss gets a crit and you have to do the whole mission again. You love it. Yes, I mean, from FE4, actually no, from this guy. From FE3 onward, there's game-breaking weapons. The Falcon in FE1 is still good, but it's not as good as FE3. Anyway, Gaiden, right here. Ooh, no. What's going on here? There we go. Gaiden's pretty good. You get to explore more traditional, like tabletop RPG stuff in this game than you couldn't before. The dynamic of exploring towns and areas and then fighting is like, woo boy. Shining Force love to see that, and I think that's why Shining Force exists. The music rules. I like this soundtrack more than FE1. I will say. But it really is monotonous. It goes on forever. It doesn't ever feel challenging until like some of the later missions. Celica's route can be awful. But as a whole, yeah. I feel confident with that. I'm not going to talk about echoes right now. Don't make me talk about echoes. I'm not going to do it. One sec. What else? What's next? Somebody choose what's next, so I don't have to. A Pirate's Life for Silk. I'll say one thing about echoes, though. I like it. Sacred Stones? Okay. Sacred Stones, first off, before I talk about Sacred Stones, there is this thing with the Fire Emblem community. And by the way, I think the Fire Emblem community, quote-unquote community, has been something that I have been orbiting since I pretty much got a computer. Since I discovered the internet, that no one had the internet except me. I was the only person in the world who had it. I invented it. I wouldn't say I invented it, but I came close to inventing it. Yeah, so from day one NA, and even way before it, actually, I was on GameFAQs talking about Fire Emblem. So Sacred Stones has this reputation for being bad, and I think people shit on it all the time, and I just don't get it. There's grinding in it. It gives you the option to grind. But I don't think it's intrusive. I don't think the grinding is as intrusive as Seth. However, my first playthrough, Seth was shit. Just got absolute bad growths. And I knew about like the Is it Jagan? It's Jagan, right? That's how you say his name. I knew about that trope really early on, and so I didn't really use him. And also there was Marcus in 6 or in 7. So I didn't really use Seth, but Seth does break the fuck out of this game. Let me tell you. Let me tell you something. What's with Seth's being overpowered? Seth in Street Fighter 4 just busted. Pizza Hut AI steals your quarters ass. But yeah, no, this game is cool. I really like Ephraim. Although this is confusing because depending on how you say it, I don't know how it is in Hebrew. But in Syriac Aramaic, it'd be Ephraim. So I don't actually know if that's what they intend because he's supposed to be European. So I'll just say Ephraim. It's easier, just quicker. The incest. Ooh, boy, that hurts. And I know it's only in one ending, but the implication is subtle, but there's so much weird, like, brother, sister pandering in this game that's like really uncomfortable. And I think I was like 17 when this came out, 16 maybe. When this game came out, and it still bothered me. I still picked up on it and was really irked by it. That's a problem. That is a huge problem, but the designs are cool. And that's all that matters. No, the map designs are really good. The gameplay loop is great because if you get a unit screwed out of something, you could grind it, or if you want to try a new unit, this game throws these like I call them favoritism units, where if you give them favoritism, they're usually the best in the game. Like baby units that start off really shitty and you have to babysit and then they get busted. People say this game is easy. Play it on hard and don't use Seth. I mean, you kind of have to in the early game because you bait with him. No. It's actually worse in the Japanese version. The whole like Ephraim and Erica marry and fuck. So it was a problem. I remember hearing about it before the game even came out. So incest brings it down to incest tier. Insects, because everything in this game will feel like insects to you if you use Seth. Actually, no. Ephraim is busted as shit. Ephraim is like so good. He's almost as good as Ike. There are no hard skills, but some of the later jobs classes do have sort of baked in skills. And this is true of 7 and 6, but a little bit more apparent in this because there's more diversity. What else do I want to say about this? Oh yeah, by the way, no, this is actually a good game. Despite the incest, which I don't know why I should have to look past that. But it's good. The story is not quite as FE7 level to me, but I like Lion a lot. I like insecure baby bitch beta bros as antagonists. I always think it's terrifying because nothing is scarier than somebody who would say, what's wrong, don't like nice guys, bitch, and then actually be violent about it. To me, that is like the most terrifying thing. So FE8 is good, but I want to talk about something that is very centric to all these games, and it's grinding, right? So in Fire Emblem, Gaiden actually has it because you can grind in that game. But this was the game that really brought this subject to a head in discourse, because people were like, oh, the grinding makes the game too easy, but you've already been grinding in Fire Emblem. If you get shitty stats, you don't want to keep them. That's a form of grinding. Fucking up and having a unit die and resetting is grinding. I mean, not the same exact thing, but there are worse methods. I'll get to what I think is the best method for Fire Emblem, but the thing that's nice about grinding in this game is that it allows it's almost like an accessibility option, and also a for fun option. It's not free, but it kind of might as well be. I really like the tower in this though. I just kind of wish it was like more endgame, so you don't get stuck or something. Because a lot of Fire Emblem games you can hit a wall if Eliwood's strength is not high enough. You hit a wall, and the last boss will be extremely, extremely difficult, if not impossible. FE9 has a straight, like, literal wall that you can hit and be completely screwed. You know what? Actually, Tactics, FF Tactics has this too. So I hate that. And I think that was like a way to sort of get around it. Also, I think this game was developed so quickly after 7 that the grinding elements were almost like a balancing. So you don't have to balance as much and tweak. Okay, let's talk about the Super Famicom games. While we're on the subject of incest, because that's important for Fire Emblem to be incestuous. Fire Emblem 4 Genealogy of the Holy War, right there. That's where it's going. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. Well, okay. There's two things. Natural segue, yeah, completely. Whenever I do these tier list videos, I just try to. I have to stop myself because I'll just talk about one game for an hour. So a lot of Fire Emblem Zoomers put Sacred Stones all the way up here or super high. It's a very divisive game. 6 and 7. Yeah, 6 has some mildly incestuous stuff too. Ooh, okay. Maybe I should rethink these tiers. But yeah, FE4. FE4 has a great story, huge scope. It does the Phantasy Star 3 thing actually well. It's cool. But the problem with 4, and this is very generic, I know, fuck the maps. Dude, every map in this game lasts like as long as like 3 Star Trek episodes. And I know because I played a lot of this game while watching the Next Generation. I play a lot of things portably while watching Star Trek, period. So I this is how I gauge time. It's like when I listen to 3 or 4 albums in the span of one mission, no. It's just so long. And this game is really frustrating. I think this game is low-key the hardest game in the series until the very end when you get busted. Because if someone dies or you mess up something like an hour and a half into your mission, goodbye. Bye. You know, it's just but the aesthetics are great. The story is cool. Sigurd and his progeny are great. This is probably the only game in the series that actually feels like you have choices, and it is definitely the game that needs to be remade the most. Hands down. Hey, David Lynch. How you doing, Dave? I can't believe David Lynch of the David Lynch Weather Report coming in hot. The Project X Zone of FE games. There's a lot that I don't know if that analogy holds up, but I back it. Yeah, FE4. I'm not as huge of a fan of this game as a lot of other Fire Emblem boomers, but it's a good game, and I think it has a lot of legacy and a really cool story. That is unfortunately eclipsed by this fucking gem of a game. I love Thracia 776. The year. Now there's 766 dudes named Thracia. It's fucked up. It's a bukkake Fire Emblem, really. No, this game rules. I feel like it fixes a lot of the problems that FE4 had. I will say though, let's get the negatives at this game first. it does the thing that I really hate in sequels, and that you would see a lot in Nintendo titles during this time, or fucking any developer really, is reuse of assets and concepts without any real innovation in the systems. But because this game is FE4 but more straightforward and way more punishing, in a direct way. So FE, like I said before, I would actually put FE4's difficulty over this low key. I find this game harder, FE4, but for the most part, because that like the length of the missions really does like it adds a level of stress that feels like a time limit. That feels like that Majora's Mask claustrophobic time limit. So you thought I was done talking about FE4, but really, no. So FE5, or Thracia 776, has two of my favorite characters in the series, and Leaf is my favorite lord. I love him so much. I don't know why. I think it's because he was busted. I've never gotten a lord as busted as Leaf in my playthrough of this game. And by the way, I've only played these two. Well, I played 5 only completely through once. FE4 I played through like 1.5 times, and I made like save states for the different divergent paths. Yeah. So FE5 was kind of a funky game because it was distributed, like through a magazine, basically. And I believe it is the most limited Fire Emblem game, barring special collector's editions. However, for a while, I think the rarest Fire Emblem game was Awakening Physical when it first came out. I could not find that game without paying like $200. So, either way, FE5 is fucked up because it makes you actually use that little pea brain that you have. It's brutal, and when you finally get stuff that makes it busted, it feels so satisfying. Also, I hope you like staves, because that's all you do in this game. The dopamine rush of leveling up in staves in this game and being like, oh, holy shit, look at all these options that you have. Ooh, boy, it's so good. I love the map design, although I do feel like a lot of it does kind of feel like Sam's Choice, President's Choice Fire Emblem at times, because it's such the reuse of assets and the concepts and what have you. So that's probably where I would dock points off of it, but it's really good. It's a short game, although it feels long because it's very dense. I would love to see, when I said FE4 is the game that needs to be remade the most, it's actually these two. Actually, it's these two. If there was a way to remake them as almost like Fates, I actually think that'd be sick. And you heard it here, folks. This is the first Fates. FE4 and 5. And speaking of which, fuck Fates. Literally fuck this game. All right, here. I'm just going to throw these on the tier list. I'm not really going to think too hard about it right now. I'm not going to think hard about it now. Thinks hard about it. Where's Revelations? All right. Okay. Let me explain. I hate this game. It fills me with ire. I hate every single fucking character, pretty much. The stories are shit. This is the worst story in the whole series. That being said, the music slaps. The gameplay loop is actually really fun, but you have to accept the fact that Fire Emblem is a different story or a different series now. Okay, let me explain why Revelations over Conquest. Conquest sucks. Conquest fucking sucks. People are like, dude, it's just like regular Fire Emblem. It's like, you gotta think it, and it's actually hard. No, every single map is a gimmick. A bullshit gimmick. You play this game on Lunatic Plus, it's fucking dumb. It's like not balanced at all. You play this game on Lunatic, it sucks. It's not balanced at all. It doesn't feel good at all. I'll get to some kind thoughts. I think Conquest story is pure shit. I think it's better than Birthright, though. Birthright's story is absolute garbage. So the big catch-all for these games was that Conquest is the classic Fire Emblem game with the classic style, and Birthright is the NU, the like kind of like new metal Fire Emblem, where you can grind and you have options. And Revelations is kind of a mixture of the two, but it ends up just being exactly like Birthright. It's my least favorite game. But here's why Revelations is the best. Is because all I care about in Fates are some of the character designs and the gameplay. So the music. And Revelations technically has the most music or whatever. And you have options in Revelations that you don't have in the other two games. That's another thing. The options that you have in Fates is what options? You have jack shit. Nothing you do matters. It all feels garbage. It feels like, I mean, it's obvious the game was designed around the golden route, which is Revelations. It just never feels good. It tried to do the FE4 thing, and so did Awakening, which we'll get to in a minute. Best option, switch to Smash. Yeah. I hate Birthright story. As somebody who himself is adopted, I know my biological family, so it's a little different. But I was like, ooh, this is an interesting story. I like this. This has a lot of potential to be like emotionally affecting for me or whatever. There might be some connection there. No. It's written by a man who had a boner. It's definitely a man. I don't think there's any female involvement with anything in Fates. I'll just say that. It reeks of like bonerisms. So much of this game is horny. Somehow more so than Three Houses, which is literally horny class : the game. Yeah, I don't like Fates, but I like playing Fates. Yeah, exactly. It has no idea how to balance that subject or talk about it in a nuanced way, but it tries to present as if it does. And it's like, basically what happens is the dynamics of family get conflated with the typical JRPG dynamics of friendship is magic. Through friendship, we shall sever our bonds. And Conquest tries to be dark and brooding, and it is so bad. The opera scene? What? Why does that exist? The music slaps. Some of the best map themes in the series. This is when Fire Emblem started to embrace the lei motifs really, really well. Awakening did too, but I'll say that. So I kind of have this sort of, how do I describe it? I just give up. Fire Emblem has beaten me into submission by the time Fates rolled around, because I was like, this is what Fire Emblem is now. It's just grinding and waifus and tits, and like yeah, boobs are always there, sure. But like that's like the fan service is starting to overtake it. I feel like the way that they used this game to leverage the popularity of Awakening sucks and is completely like, this is such a cool concept. I'm sorry, I eat up the really like hyper capitalistic like multi-version thing more often than I should, even though I shit on Nintendo for it a lot. I think this added a lot of potential. There's so much potential here to do a quote unquote classic Fire Emblem game. But then you have DLC that lets you grind. Actually, I think you could grind in the base game a little bit to some extent. It gives you like a limited amount of grinding, which is fine. I like that, and we'll get into that later. That's like the last subject I want to talk about. So yeah, no, yet that being said, the gameplay loop and like min-maxing everything feels really cool, and it has the same gameplay effect that Final Fantasy Tactics has to me. Because I don't think Final Fantasy Tactics gameplay is very deep. I don't think the game ever actually challenges you in a meaningful way, and I think that that's true of these games too. This is when like I stopped being challenged by Fire Emblem. Actually, it happened in Awakening, but I had hope for these. And I played Conquest first, then Birthright, then Revelations. And I gotta say, I think like Revelation just does the grinding thing better. I don't give a shit about the story. I don't give a shit at all. I don't know why Birthright exists. It should have just been Revelations and Conquest. There's no reason, because like I don't know the numbers exactly, but even if this isn't true, it feels like it's true, and that's what's most important. Like 70% of the maps in Birthright are basically repurposed or reused in Revelations. So what the fuck is the point of Birthright? Oh, you get to simp over Ryoma. Who cares? Fuck this game. I hope Intelligent Systems never does something like this again. Oh, oops, 3 houses exist. Anyway, let's go on to Awakening. All right, I'm a little bit divided on where I want to put this, because I don't like this game that much. I think it's very mid in every way except gameplay. I don't think the story is objectively bad, but I don't think it's good. And I get what they were trying to do. They wanted to make it like a fan service game. They wanted to go out with a bang. They wanted this to be their Final Fantasy. But like Crom is a piece of toast. He's just like slightly buttered toast. He's like Diet Ike mixed with Marth. Just Lucina's cool. If the story had just been Lucina, that'd be sick. At this point, after Fates especially, I was so tired of the Lord. The prim and proper Lord, which is another problem that we get to from, I would say, from Awakening until now. Yeah, that's true. The Avatar thing, I actually like. I don't think it's... if that's what they wanted to do, that's fine. Why does Crom have to exist? I mean, I get it for story reasons why he exists, but that could... this is when Fire Emblem casts started to fall apart for me, because I don't think the casts in Awakening or Fates are very interesting at all. I don't think that they have charm or personality outside of a couple characters. Three Houses struggles with this really bad too, but I think less so. But dude, the DLC, this is one of my favorite DLCs. There was so much cool fan servicey shit that didn't feel like I was getting robbed. This did the Fire Emblem Heroes thing before Heroes, and I really, really like that. I think that, and it fits well for the context of the story. The problem is, why does that story exist to begin with? I hate when games try to do this Ludo narrative thing for DLC and like time travel stuff. It's like, I don't ever buy it. I slap my desk in frustration. And this is also, like I said before, this is when I was beaten into submission that Fire Emblem is a different series now. And oh God, the first chapters in this game before you can grind are awful. On Lunatic Plus. It's 100% luck. It's literally all luck. I remember going through it on GameFAQs and being like, I'm not going to grind and see how far I get. And I'm going to beat this whole game without grinding. And I got to like the 12th or 13th mission, and my stat ups just weren't amazing. And I was just like, I legitimately couldn't do it. Maybe if I sat there and spent like 200, 300 hours doing it, but it's not like a challenge thing at that point. It's a fucking numbers thing. And RNG and Fire Emblem have a very complicated dynamic relationship, even. It's almost abusive. Uh, and yeah, exactly. Frederick and pray for luck. So I ended up grinding in this, and dude, I'm so averse to saying a game is grindy. I like it's my fucking kryptonite. My entire life is defending mediocre games, mediocre to just okay games, because people say they're grindy. I think Solstice, if you're still here, you heard my rant about Octopath Traveler, and no, we did that podcast about it, man. So you know how I feel about this. But I do think that this game's grinding incentives. It's weird. This game's grinding incentives are great, but the difficulty, like the robustness of the difficulty sucks. And I think that the maps are shit. They're pure shit. They're Gaiden level. I actually think that they're worse than Gaiden. I'm going to say that. I think Conquest is close too, though, and Birthright are really bad. But these are just, no. So I'm in this weird spot where, do I want to put this over Fates? I don't know. I think it's a better game objectively than Fates. But I think I like some of Fate's characters more. And I'm just going to sandwich it between these two because they're so close to me that it's difficult to do whatever. Also, it's hard to say that this is better than Gaiden. So I would say this whole tier right here is pretty equal. This is a hard thing to rank fully. But I like I call it degenerate Fire Emblem. I like the degenerate Fire Emblem mechanics and gameplay of Fates more than I like it in Awakening. And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek because I hate the fucking rhetoric that blank is not a real blank. You know, like FF13 is not a real Final Fantasy, or FF11 is not a real Final Fantasy because it's an MMO. I hate that shit so much, it's dumb. I think it has some applications that are true, but in the context of this series, I don't even think it's true. There are things I like about Fire Emblem more. I think some of the soul has been sucked away for the series, sure, but like, you know, things change and evolve over time, and don't be a boomer, basically. That being said, I don't like the new style as much. All right, so next, Echoes. Where's this going? No, you know what? No. Yeah. I like Echoes. I think the character designs and the art style in this game is way better than Fates, and way better than, what's the name? Awakening? It's would you put this over at the top, Solstice? Is that where you throw it? I love the dungeon crawling in this game. I actually think it's fun, and it makes me sad that there wasn't more to this. So I'm sort of contradicting myself because I just said I don't like when Fire Emblem forces you to grind and gives you options outside of strategy. That being said, this game is based off of Gaiden, and I feel like that worked well, and it kept the spirit of the game, and it works well. And again, at this point, I am just resigned to the fact that this is what Fire Emblem is now, and I think it works better. Ultimately, I think it works better for this game. Oh, that's awesome. I respect that. I don't like the music, I'm sorry, I do like the music. I think I'm like trying in my head to just sound inflammatory so somebody freaks out, but no, I love the music in this game. I think the split paths are almost worthy of being split paths. Again, character design is great. This is a really good way to make your own units in an interesting way. They should bring back that. Yeah, I agree. I think, although I do like I like the character design in Three Houses. I do. I have to say it. What don't I like about Echoes? The maps, obviously. Do I have to even fucking say? And now the maps wouldn't be as big of a problem if this is the thing that puts Echoes down to like almost a 4 for me. And it's the fact that there's no fucking weapon triangle. There's no strategy. The strategy in this game is about how to hold a defensive position in the middle of nowhere. That's what the strategy is in this game. It's just, or like, make your lord as busted as possible. Like, it just, that's what I hate about this game. Those are the two biggest complaints. I wish the exploration had been a little bit more robust. I like how the DLC doesn't break this game as much as it does Conquest. It's just a fun little game. I don't know if it would hold up as well as some of the other Fire Emblems, but I do think it's solid. It's like this weird mix, and I don't know why Intelligent Systems decides to do this, but it's like this weird mix of like, okay, we're gonna keep the spirit of the original game, but then we're gonna add all this modern shit, and then it's just like we're gonna completely contradict what our design ethos is here. So, the resource management aspect of it, are you talking like items and staves and stuff? Because I will say this game feels the most like a Final Fantasy or a Dragon Quest turn-based JRPG, where it feels like you're using a lot more consumables. Like everything is a little bit more, how do I describe it? Like menu based. I know that's like a subjective feeling kind of thing rather than a truth, but that's sort of what it feels like to me, because like there's so many fucking units in each map that you park that sucker right in the middle of the map, and then you hit end turn, and then you watch it kill 30-40 guys. But it's different than watching Ike kill 30-40 guys. Yeah, true. It has that like Mega 10 stuff with like using certain skills, use HP. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and then the dungeon dives are cool. I do like that a lot. I like how they can. The problem again with it, I just wish that there was more to it. Like there was more danger to it rather than like running into an enemy and then watching it all die. It's a unique take on grinding in a game that doesn't need grinding, because the game is about the grind. So it's a weird dynamic, and I feel kind of like a hypocrite praising it because I shit on Awakening and Fates for the same reasons. I just think this game is better. I actually do like it more than Gaiden, I have to say. It's not like an issue of Shadow Dragon and FE1 where I just like the gameplay of Shadow Dragon more. I feel like this game across the board is a better game than Gaiden. In the context of history, I don't know, because I feel like Gaiden was way more ahead of its time, and Echoes feels almost archaic because it tries to do all those things that I just shat on it for. So all it needed was just a couple little things, and it could have literally been up here. That's that. But either way, I like Alm and I like Celica. Some of the big problem I have with this game, there's not a lot of like personality in the units and the characters, because it's very like choose your own adventure. With a lot of your units, it's sort of like FF3 or Dragon Quest 3 that make your own party vibe. I know that the characters have personalities, but they're not as nuanced, I think, as in other Fire Emblems. But somehow they feel better than Conquest. They feel better than Tit Lord Carmilla. Is it Camilla or Carmilla? It's Camilla. Let me see. Let me just make sure. I'm conflating that with Castlevania, I think. No, yeah, Camilla. Okay, no R. I'm conflating that with shitty localization Castlevania. All right, which brings me to Three Houses. So, oh boy. I don't think I have as many buts as I do with Three Houses. Yeah, I agree about the aesthetic choices. I don't have as many butts about Three Houses. I have butts about Three Houses. This game did not need 4.5 routes, and I say 0.5 because of DLC. I think this game was designed as a game with 2 routes that slowly diverged more and more because the developers had more time to work on it. And then they suddenly didn't. So much of this game feels hella rushed, and it feels like weird production goals. The school stuff. It takes a lot of what Echoes and Fates and Awakening were doing with like the side content exploration base building aspects and makes it a lot more prominent and more balanced. I think that there was a definite inspiration for Persona in this game. I think it's very silly to say that there isn't, but comparing it to Persona is stupid because there are so many other life sim games that you could compare it to. But like I do think like in the zeitgeist of this game coming out, like this whole school trope was big. And more so than that, I think like in the West, like Harry Potter and all that shit, even like Hunger Games stuff is like it sells really well here, and that's why you see a lot of more recent Korean films starting to catch on more too. Everything is Persona. I have hot takes about Persona 2. Not Persona number 2, but Persona, 2. TOO. Anyway, I like the story of Three Houses. I don't know why. I think I like how it sucks, but it unabashedly sucks. You know, like, it takes itself so seriously that it starts to become like almost like post-ironically good. I don't know how to sound not unpretentious about this. I love Dimitri's route. I think that's the route that everyone should play. I think Edelgard is an awesome villain. And yes, she's a fucking villain. Kiss my ass. But my problem is that I hate how the motivations in this game result to, I just didn't talk to this person. It's literally like if the game had been a commentary on communication, the lack of communication, or the ways that communication could be misinterpreted and misconstrued, that would be a different story. The game does not do that. It very much relies on garbage anime tropes and plot twists that are just so pejorative, lowercase a anime. Actually, it's pronounced anime. I hate that so much about this fucking game, but it's still so good. The gameplay loop, again, been beaten into submission by what Fire Emblem was becoming. I just accepted it, and I feel like this game is more unabashed about it. It doesn't try to be in as much of like a strategic role-playing game as it just embraces its like sort of more norminess, if that makes sense. They give you a lot of stuff to do in between missions where it feels like you're really starting to get to know the characters. The music is so good. This is my favorite soundtrack in the series. Even though you hear the Fodlan Winds leitmotif a little too much. Yeah, literally. The real strange love is the love that you have between your sister and you. Which applies to both Fates and Sacred Stones. Which, real quick, let me backtrack to Conquest really fast. And Fates in general is that it's like it does that thing where it's like, what if you fucked your sister, but she wasn't really your sister? Or you wanted to fuck your sister, and then you realize she wasn't your biological sister. Now it's not weird to titty fuck giant big-breasted balloon tits, Camilla. Now it's legal, baby! And then, which sucks, because now we've had so many incarcerated people who went to jail for incest, and now they're just stuck there incarcerated. I'm joking. But, this game is simultaneously more horny and less horny. Because it's about horny class, but it's not about degenerate horniness as much. It's like it wears its horniness on its sleeve, man. But I do think I like this. Okay, I like what they were going for with Three Houses because they wanted to make each gameplay experience unique. And so, like, the game is less about each route is different, like a different story, and it's more about, like, oh, let's try to make Joey and Solstice have two different scenarios. And then if Comrio chooses the third path, they have slightly different scenarios. I almost want to say that this game does not feel like you should 100% it. There's no golden route. My problem with it is that it does push a golden route. It pushes the narrative of it almost. But I think you get more out of this game when you play it like when you sort of play it like an SMT game. I did every single path. I put like 120 hours into this game. I played everything on maddening because I was addicted to it. It feels like sugary candy. So I'm putting it here, man. You know what? Maybe even higher. You know what? Oh, where'd it go? What happened? I'm putting it here. Or if I put over Sacred Stones, it's around here. I think, yeah. That was Fates. Yeah, true. Golden Deer does have golden in its name. That's not incorrect. I love Claude, but there's a lot of characterization here that goes nowhere. And I think Dimitri is the perfect example for this game because his route, like, you know where that's going, and it's very tropey, but it's satisfyingly so. And you know you're following him onto like what is essentially a dark path, but one that kind of needs to be done. And it's just like the ham-fistedness of him being so broody after all that kind of stuff is. I think Claude as a character is way better than those two, but I think his route or his plot is worse. A really cool conceptual character, just his actual plotting is terrible. Yet I think he does actually have the closest route to a golden route, and that's no pun intended. I'm not piggybacking off that joke. It just like that's probably the closest thing to it. The church route is so bad. It's so dumb. It's basically just Edelgard's mixed with Claude's, and it's stupid. Edelgard sucks too because that route just like you feel so dirty. I like the concept of being able to choose which people you want to recruit from other houses and being myopically limited. And what I mean by that is that if you min-max this game, you can get everybody, but it's a huge pain in the ass. And then it's like platinuming Persona 4 where you have to follow a very rigid guide to do so. He could have been the best lord in the series, like a sort of Robin Hood-y lord. Hell yeah. The neutral alignment lord. Hell yes, that'd be so sick. What else do I have to say about the characters? There was something I was going to say about the characters. I like how the characters interact with each other. I don't think the time skip... Sorry, that's a spoiler. I don't think the time skip should have existed. I'm trying to stay away from spoilers, but I think everyone knows about that in this. I think the story doesn't make any sense with it. It's kind of stupid. And you kind of see it coming from a mile away anyway. I think you should have just been able to play that time period. That would have been so much... This is a big example of telling and not showing. Rather than like having you... There's a lot of parts in that game. Another problem is the fact that the first 10 missions or 11 missions or whatever it is are all basically the same really sucks. I think that's really dumb. And that's why I think that this game really benefits from just play it once. Play it from one route. And if you don't like that route, play another one. Because I actually fucking love how this game doesn't give you a concrete answer for everything. And in that sense, like, yeah, hey, maybe that makes sense to play all the routes. But no, I don't think so, because I feel like what you get out of this game is very personal, connotative. And I wish they had gone more with that. I wish that they had actually taken chances with alignment and they had made like serious choices, even though you can. Is another spoiler. Some characters can die that wouldn't die in other routes. But I wish that like it was just more like it tried to be how I was saying a little bit about it, piggybacking off the tropes of the time. It tries to be like Game of Thrones in a lot of ways. That dark fantasy aspect, it just too much of a. It just never fully goes in a strong direction. It always feels fluffy, and that's Nintendo for you, though. You watch Get Obsessed and beat the others. Honestly, you beat Claude's route. You saw it all, man. You saw the things that you needed to see. What else do I want to say about Fates? Three Houses. The DLC is pretty good. I like the story. It just kind of just feels a little too convenient to have not happened in the base game. I don't know, man. I'll say this game is easy as shit. It's one of the easiest games in the series. I think Awakening on a standard difficulty is probably the easiest. Next to, if I were to say the easiest games would be Birthright, Awakening, and then this. I played all three on Maddening. I think none of them even came close to even, like, I'd say the hardest thing was the first route I played, Blue Lions, on Maddening, felt like Lynn's route on hard in FE7, which is not very hard. Yeah. I agree. Exactly. Man, there's something I was going to say about the characterization in this game and how the characters develop that seems kind of funky. Shit. God, I don't remember. If I remember, I'll come back to it. Okay, that's all I want to say about Three Houses. We're running pretty low on time now. This is the GOAT. Anyway, Radiant Dawn. Where do I put Radiant Dawn? I want to say it's about equal with Three Houses. Not with the time skip, but the time skip here is me skipping over Path of Radiance. No, I'll get to it. I'm just memeing. Radiant Dawn is really good because Radiant Dawn is one of the most challenging, infuriating, deep games in the series, combat-wise, I think. You have a ton of options. You're forced to play certain ways. I think one of the things that Fire Emblem has tried to do pretty much since this game is it tries to give too many options for all fans of the series. And so what Radiant Dawn does is that it's like, okay, the Dawn Brigade part is like a new Fire Emblem. It's like a new group. This is kind of like old school Fire Emblem. You have these units who are really struggling, like ludonarratively too, with the stuff that they're fighting. You always seem like you're not quite up to the enemy's strength. And then you have like a really straightforward kind of free route, and then you have fucking busted units. And then you have the last arc, which is, everything all at once. The more grindy, super broad spectrum of different styles that you have with the whole conclusion. So the infamous thing about this game is that in the North American release, maybe it's the European release too, maybe just the English language release, we got the normal mode as easy, and the hard mode is normal. So hard in normal in Radiant Dawn is like way harder than you think it would be. And I love that personally, but I can see that people would get turned off by that. Biggest complaints about Radiant Dawn and the things that makes it from like right here to here is Maniac mode turning off your ability to see enemy movement. I don't know what the fuck went through the heads of the developer with that. That is so fucking stupid. To take away a quality of life and like that is just so beyond dumb to me. I get that they were trying to make it harder, but that doesn't make the game harder. That makes it annoying. And I will honestly say, I think this game has less RNG with it than any game that came after it. And, well, maybe not Fate's Conquest. Maybe not. But it has less RNG than even parts of Hector Hard mode or Elliewood Hard. That being said, like the hiding the UI, parts of the UI, the enemy movement, shit like that. This is honestly on Maniac. This is one of the hardest games I think I've ever played. And beaten like story wise, RPG wise. This is definitely like top 5 or 10. Beaten a lot of harder games in this, but like from an RPG standpoint, which I think is like usually a little lower on the difficulty. I really like how fucking nuts and stupid, grandiose anime this story is, actually. I think it's this really satisfying conclusion when you see all the characters from Path of Radiance come into Radiant Dawn and their entrances, and the fact that you're like... The game leads you to believe that the game that you played in Path of Radiance might not have been the only way. That there might have been other viewpoints and other people to consider that you may not have considered. You tried to be objective in Path of Radiant Dawn, or in Path of Radiance, but maybe you have to face the consequences of your actions. I think it's sort of what the theme of the game is, which is the first like half of the game, and then it kind of becomes like sort of killing God, which is sort of weird for Fire Emblem. But there's a part, and I think it's Act 3, in the middle of Act 3 in this game, that is like stunning to me. It doesn't really make sense, and I don't buy some of the logic, but it's like the execution of it is not super great, but like the actual tone and mood of it is fucking fantastic. I played through this game twice, but it's been a long time. A lot of these games I haven't played through more than once, and it's been a while since I've done it. So let's talk about the GOAT. Path of Radiance. And first of all, I want to say that I don't think any Fire Emblem game is bad. Again, I want to reiterate this again. I don't think there's any game that's like, that's a bad game. Maybe BS Fire Emblem. I actually haven't played that. I didn't even think about that. That's not on this list anyway. I never played that, so I couldn't tell you. Why Path of Radiance is the GOAT? The best story in the series, first off. And people shit on... I see this too. People shit on Path of Radiance's story. They're like, oh, that story is not very good. Fire Emblem never had good stories, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, sort of, but like, look at what Path of Radiance was trying to say. It's made up. Somebody made it up. Just completely bullshit. But this game does like a kind of a stunning story of like racism and the ways that it affects multiple cultures and society and permeates through all that kind of stuff. how legacy dictates that kind of thing. It's a very like almost like anarchistic take on this, because if you look at how this game ends up, and like it posits every system of power in this universe as kind of corrupt or problematic. Exactly. I mean, yeah, there's some ham-fisted stuff in there. I think sometimes it goes a little too both sides-y. I think that making Ike a lord who actually isn't a lord and is like just a poor man's mercenary was great, but I don't sort of like what they did with some of that backstory. I feel like it's a little too like it takes away some of that oomph. What else about the characters are so good. Some of them are tropey, sure. You have like the teacher knight, Titania, the soft boy priest, the Unga Bunga best friend, Boyd, and the nice knight, Oscar. But like, I feel like all the character dynamics, this game has the best supports in the series. I didn't even really talk about supports because I don't really care about them that much. I feel like they very rarely add anything to my personal experience. So when you see games like Radiant Dawn take them out, it sucks, but like to me, I don't care that much. Although I do think they should be as detailed as possible. But the supports in this game are fucking great. There are so many good units. This is one of the few games that I feel like every unit is really good. I mean, you have your shit units in this too, but as a whole, the majority of the units are very playable. I didn't actually use... So I've beaten this game, like, I got all the unlockables in the multiplayer thing, or the map mode. So I think I beat it 12 times. A lot of those are like just kind of speed runs. I would put it on easy and just go through the game and listen to music. Yeah, this is a very expensive... Radiant Dawn and Path of Radiance very fucking expensive. Wii's are not expensive. So you could theoretically buy a Wii and play both of these on them. But, a GameCube is more expensive than a Wii. Controllers are more expensive than Wii controllers. And I think Path of Radiance just as a game is worth more. I've bought every single Fire Emblem except Sacred Stones because I didn't have money to buy it when it came out. But I bought every single North American Fire Emblem day one of release except Sacred Stones for that reason. So hell yeah. I will say that Radiant Dawn, less so, but still so, is very slow, and Path of Radiance is very slow. Even if you turn off the animations, the game is extremely slow. I think Critical Path, the game is too easy. A little too easy, and part of that is due to Ike. So I'm a little bit hesitant to talk about Maniac, because that didn't exist in the US version. I had to emulate it in Japanese to do that. And there are some changes in the North American version and the Japanese version. We get a lot more quality of life things. We get a hard mode, but not Maniac mode, which is kind of... I don't understand why that was the case. Why do we just not get it? And hard mode actually feels good. I mean, Ike still breaks it, but I don't think that much more so than Leaf with the Sacred Weapon in the very end game of FE4, or end game FE3 Mark. Oh no, it's the white Marth. The Marth designed by white people, rather. It's different because Marth is obviously supposed to be European. Also, can I just say, I love Marth's flamboyance. I love how every bro back in the day thought he would... Dude, that looks like a girl. I love it. I love my sweet, gentle boy. Anyway, what else does Path of Radiance kind of do a little shitty? The maps are really well designed throughout, but I don't think that they get like super tough until like the mid game. And by that point, Ike is creeping and he gets busted. And the first couple times I played through this game, I didn't use Mia, which is a mistake because Mia absolutely slaps. Your Pretty Little Prince. Mia absolutely slaps. I've done a playthrough with every single unit in it, and maybe one day I'll talk about what are the best ones. But it's been a really long time since I've actually played through Path of Radiance. But the last time I did, I think, was like 8 years ago. And no, 6 years ago. 6 years ago, like right when my girlfriend and I started dating, I played through it. So maybe not that long. And I was like, oh, this game is not going to hold up. It's not really that good. And then, no, it holds up. And I really recommend everyone emulate this game. Steal from Nintendo. I'm kidding. I'm not Kotaku. But, you have to do what you got to do. You can tag the FBI in this chat if you'd like. No, I mean, it sucks that Nintendo has not released this game. I think that they're very embarrassed of it. I think Nintendo in general is very embarrassed of every Fire Emblem besides 7, Awakening, Three Houses, and Fates. And so it's like, I don't know if we'll ever actually see a port of this. Please prove me wrong. It's been a long time since we've got Fire Emblem news, and I think Three Houses did really well. So I feel like they want to ride that momentum. But maybe. Who knows? Who knows? We shall see. This game with speed up options, Path of Radiance with speed up options would just cement its place in this tier. But yeah, I do think the critical path is a little easy. But it's fun. It's still strategic. It's not mindless. I wouldn't say it's like Awakening with grind or Awakening Fates or Three Houses easy. I think Three Houses has a lot of same dynamics as Path of Radiance does with difficulty, but ultimately Fire Emblem still feels like a Fire Emblem game. It still feels like a classic Fire Emblem. I think that Radiant Dawn was probably the last Fire Emblem game that had the old style, quote unquote old style. And that kept it really solid. Again, I like the grindy elements. Part of me does, if Fire Emblem did quote unquote go back to its roots, I feel like that path would be forged through Path of Radiance. And last subject I want to talk about before I close out here is the idea of how to handle grinding in this series, right? So Path of Radiance, I think, does it perfectly. And Radiant Dawn. It's somewhere between Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn because you can't grind in those games, but you can do bonus objectives that give you bonus experience. And the bonus experience goes to a pool that you can use in between most missions. And the game purposely, at least in Path of Radiance, gives you an option to sort of save scum your level ups. And I don't know if I like save scumming. I don't think that that's a good workaround for balance. But I like how it gives you an option to sort of build units almost how you want, but not completely how you want. The move to min-max in Path of Radiance, though, is to get your units as close to 99 out of 100 experience as possible, and then, save scum your levels in the pre-mission screen. And I think it's a great mechanic. Radiant Dawn did the same thing, but it didn't let you save scum in the same way. It wasn't as easy to save scum. There were different modifiers. And I think that the idea of grinding is implicit in Fire Emblem in some way. That's why you have arenas in from 4 until from 4 until Path of Radiance. And then I think they were in Awakening as well. I don't really remember, but why am I blanking on that? I don't know. But either way, there's always an element of grinding. There's always like the, don't equip a weapon and attack the boss and slowly gain levels that way. There's always an exploit. So I think it's better for developers to acknowledge that fact and give you some sort of tool, but not a completely busted tool. Because even if you min-max every level in Path of Radiance or Radiant Dawn, especially Radiant Dawn, you don't get so broken where you can just drop your unit in the middle of a map and live on harder difficulties. On normal, you can do that without min-maxing. But you still have to be careful. You have to be strategic with your use of staves. I miss broken staves. Not broken, like just OP staves being more limited. In the later games, the last 3 or 4 games, you could pretty much get unlimited physics staves, and to me, that just feels so wrong. Again, it works well for the concept and the context of what new Fire Emblems are, but it doesn't add the same level of strategy, I think. So I think Path of Radiance is a really good example of having a bunch of busted resources, but only having a certain amount. They did that with save scumming with the turn wheel, although it is busted. Yeah. The turn wheel is silly. I don't like that. I think that is a really fucking absolutely stacked mechanic. If you could only do it once, I would have no problem with it, because there is a lot of luck in Fire Emblem unless you're like a master, And even speedrunners manipulate RNG in these games. So the concept of luck, the relationship between luck and skill in Fire Emblem is very shaky. And it's very push and pull. And I think that one of the reasons why Path of Radiance is so high, and FE5 is so high, is because they never feel as unfair as a lot of the rest of these games. The new game's sort of excluded because they give you so many tools. Yeah, like once per map. A lot of the older games gave you a staff. Why am I blanking on the name? That lets you revive one party member. And some games have like multiple, but I don't think that it ever gets more than 2 or 3. So I actually I like that. But I feel like that's something you should get right in the beginning of the game. And the game should tell you, here's a staff. When a unit dies, it's completely gone unless you use this staff. You only get one, you stupid fucking idiot. Don't mess up. No, not Bifrost. It's just, I forgot the name of the staff. I think it has multiple different names throughout. I don't want revive spells, though. I think that's silly. Or some option to go around that. Like, you can sacrifice one unit for another. If I want Soren to die instead of Mia, I have that option if they're supported. But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of clever ways to add quality of life and modern convenience to Fire Emblem beyond what they've been doing with the series thus far. And I think that's a good point to end on. What do we want from the series moving forward? I want to see a game that is between Three Houses and Path of Radiance. I think the best case scenario that we see in terms of like old versus new Fire Emblem is something like Sacred Stones, and I'd be happy with that. And that would be fine. Part of me wants to see a remake of 4 and 5, but at the same time, I don't care. I kind of want those games exist. The ideal thing would be new Fire Emblems, ports of the old ones, because a lot of these games, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3 if you count New Mystery, 2, 3, 4 if you count Gaiden, 5, 6. 6 games are just not available here. There it is. Staff. And that sucks. I mean, I get that the Echoes is supposed to replace Gaiden. But then we got Shadow Dragon, and that's supposed to replace FE1, but then we got the NES port. The limited release NES port, which Nintendo can shove that fucking marketing gimmick way up their ass. Yeah, any other questions that anyone has before I close this out? Thank you guys so much for watching and participating and piggybacking. I feel like I didn't articulate a lot of my points super clearly. I maybe should have gone into this with some sort of script. But I feel like I already have enough anxiety with streaming as it is. I feel like I just have to do it. Yeah. I hope FE1... Yeah, I do too. I would like to see more ports. If you gave me an option, would you rather see ports with limited availability or no ports at all? Obviously, I'm going to choose the former. But the second, the limited availability ports, is just such a slippery slope. And it really just grubby and shady. And absolutely shitty. Maybe I'll do this with more series moving forward. I'll try to work out my whole issue with things not playing, because that sucked. Spent a lot of time going through footage trying to make sure I had things lined up, and poopy. New with limited time. Yeah. Fire Emblem 3 houses, except 2 of the houses are DLC. Fire Emblem 1 house or vacation house. It's like your rich family cabin in Michigan. That's what it is. All right. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Really appreciate y'all. Always here to talk about Fire Emblem. It's a series I actually never really talk about on social media or on podcasts. So very fun to be able to do it for once. I will be getting back to Persona 1, which I'm just starting now. And fucking, I love it a lot. It's a really good game. I'm like 16. Wait, how many games? I think maybe it's not that many. Maybe it's like 12, but it feels like more. I'm like 12 games into my Megami Tensei marathon. And I think what I'll do in the next week or so, Endwalker comes out in like 4 days. That's hard to say. Next week or two, I'll do a tier list about the first block of Megami Tensei games. Yeah. Again, thanks again, guys, and I'll catch y'all soon. Thanks for listening.